In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. And let them be lights in the vault of the sea to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the great light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky to give light on earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky." So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the waters teems and that move about in it according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase on earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to his kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, and the livestock, and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." Then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Earlier this year, I spent some time thinking about how I was going to approach the Bible. As a Christian, there are many years where I have read the Bible cover to cover, and for some reason, I felt prompted in January of this year to begin looking at the Bible through the lens of a business owner. I think business owners are a category of individuals that find it hard to interact with other people, mostly because, in the example of a family, a business owner, if they're the leader of the home, then the other people in the home look to that leader to say, "How are things? Are they good?" And so the burden that a business owner carries can be heavy and not easily shareable. I also think that there is a limited social circle or peer group that business owners can move in, because every business is so unique, and the role that business owners fulfill is is a tricky one. It's just hard to connect with people and really be honest and share things. And I'm no different. I feel the same way. I certainly have a peer group of business owners, but a lot of the conversations we have generally center around business tactics and finance, and that's great. But at my age and stage of life, I also need something a little bit more substantial than that. And given how chaotic the world seems to me, um, I felt earlier this year to start coming to the Bible and understanding, what does the Bible say about being a business owner. And I thought, I'll just share that with people. And maybe there's business owners out there that are in a position where they're trying to figure out how to navigate this crazy world that we're living in right now. And as I began to approach the Bible, there was a theme that started to emerge. And it began with Genesis 1 1. And it's this idea that there is order brought out of chaos. As I read through the book of Genesis, and certainly the first few chapters, it becomes evident to me that God was able to take a lot of things that were disordered and bring order to them. And as a business owner, I think that's what we're called to do. I think that there are things in this world because of sin. And as we continue to hopefully go on this journey together, I can share maybe my thoughts on how I see sin. But to say it in short, I think sin is everything that God is not. And I think sin is a separation from God. And so, as individuals, we have the opportunity to walk with God every day, or we have the opportunity to walk on our own. And when we do that, that's when sin kind of comes into the world. And because we're broken people, we create broken solutions and perpetuate problems. But bringing it back to Genesis, I found a lot of comfort in seeing that, as I will read in the next bunch of chapters. But as I approach Genesis, I see that there is this idea that there is order brought to chaos. And as business owners, that's really what we're charged to do. I think we're meant to go into the marketplace and to solve problems for people. I think if we can solve problems for people, people will pay for that. And to the extent that we can manage our costs well, we can solve a problem, be profitable, and with those profits, continue to solve more problems. And I think there's this idea that we're meant to create, we're meant to build, we're meant to manage, and then ultimately we're meant to exit. And I think that that follows the arc of the Bible. I think as I look into the life of Jesus, which is kind of what I ultimately anchor everything to in my life, I certainly have a lot of theological musings and things that I think about, but I think the Bible and my Christian faith is really simple, and it's illustrated in the life of Jesus. And my opportunity every day is to figure out, how did Jesus approach these same ideas and challenges, and what did he do with them? Because if he was perfect and he's an example of the living word, if he's the Bible brought to life, if he is if he is a reflection of what God would intend, how all of us live, how do I move through a broken world, and a business owner looking at Jesus as the example? And I think in Genesis 1, where we see that there's this idea that there's order brought out of chaos. Um, in Mark, we see that Jesus calmed the storm. That's in Mark 4:34, or sorry, chapter 4, verse 35 to 41. We see that there's this crazy storm going on, and all his disciples are losing their mind, and Jesus basically stands up and speaks to the storm, and calms it and brings order out of it. We see in Mark 6, verses 35 to 44, that he was able to feed 5,000 people. He was able to multiply loaves and two fish and feed a crowd of thousands of people. And so the problem he was solving was, there were people that were hungry. He had a little bit to work with, and through his faith and through prayer, he was able to multiply uh, what he had in order to feed a crowd of thousands. And even something as simple as healing the blind man, in John 9, verses 1 through 7. He puts a little bit of mud, puts it in the blind man's eyes, and restores his sight. And so there's just so many examples, but it's this idea that as business owners, we're meant to bring order out of chaos. And if you listen to business people, they'll, I think, all say the same thing, but maybe won't be quite as direct with it. There's all these, fancy business ideas, but at the core of what we're called to do, I believe that as business owners, we're called to bring order out of chaos. And that brings me a lot of comfort, because as I look around the world, I see that as business owners, We're not called to subdue people, we're called to subdue the earth. We're called to rule over the earth and the things that are in the earth. We're not called to rule over people. And the minute we start ruling over people, I think that's where the chaos gets introduced. And certainly that's where sin uh, takes its foothold in the world and really just perverts everything that God has made good. And so, as Christian business owners, using Jesus as our example, I see it very clearly that we're meant to bring order out of chaos. And that's bringing a lot of comfort to me today as in one instance, I'm transitioning out of business ownership and handing it to a management team. And over the course of the next several months, we'll be serving them to fill in any gaps that might exist so that they can take what we have built together and move it further than it is today. And I'm also trying to create a brand new business and go after a US marketplace as a Canadian, which is proving to be for me a lot of work because I see some problems to solve, and trying to figure out how to solve them without getting lost in rabbit holes is a little bit tough. But when I anchor myself in Genesis 1, I see just this beautiful picture emerging of it's very easy. As business owners, we go into the world, we remove friction, we bring order to chaos, and that's what we're called to do. And then Jesus gives us a model of what that looks like. And if you dig into the verses that I mentioned, or you just open up the New Testament, you can pretty much just see him doing that constantly. He wasn't going after people; he was going after problems in the world that needed to be subdued, and was able to focus on the problem and separate the problem from the person, because that separation is what we would call, or that problem is a result of sin. And so God created us all in his image. So that's why Jesus never attacks the people, except the Pharisees and the authorities, who I think were just abusing their position. And that's what he was upset about. But when it came to everyday life, he didn't condemn the Roman Empire. He didn't go around condemning people. He really just looked to solve problems in his regular course of living out a life as Jesus the Messiah. And to me, that's hugely instructful. I was having a conversation with my son this weekend, and for 25 years I used to use the parable of the talents, which we find in Matthew, where the master gives one servant 5 talents, gives another servant 2 talents, and gives another servant 1 talent. And the first two servants have doubled what they've done, and then the last servant buries his talent in the ground. And to me, that was very, very instructful in how I viewed my life. But since reading the Bible this year through a different lens and trying to understand specifically how do the principles of how Jesus lived his life apply to me as a business owner, not necessarily just as a husband or a friend or a father, I'm really seeing a different picture emerge, which is that there is instruction to subdue the earth, but not to subdue people. That my job is to go and solve problems in the marketplace, but not try to solve people. And that's been really helpful. And if I'm if I'm able to do that, then I think we move the world towards that kingdom of God that we read about in the Bible. It's a place where God is first. Hopefully, we are all living according to Jesus. At least that's what the Bible tells us. And I think striving towards that gives us something more meaningful as business owners to work towards than just accumulating more resources. And so I hope that in Genesis 1, I'd be curious to hear what chaos, confusion, or unmet needs God has positioned me to bring order to through a business. And I'm going to share those thoughts as I go. And maybe it's instructful for you. Maybe it's a question to answer for yourself as well. What chaos, confusion, or unmet need has God positioned you to bring order to through your business? And if you're maybe not a Christian, or maybe you've never considered using the Bible as instruction, then maybe this is your introduction into it, or maybe it will give you something to think about today. And I'm going to try to do this for the next 30 days to see what I'm really doing this for my own benefit. I generally learn about myself by talking out loud, and I figured if I could stream it, share it with other people, that maybe there's something in it for somebody else as well. So hopefully we see you tomorrow.